Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel where I give you advice to help you with gang stalking and developing your character vis-a-vis the entire gang stalking phenomenon. But of course this applies to most people in daily life, dealing with any kind of unpleasant interactions phenomenon that might be happening in your life. So in this video, I want to focus on something. It's a concept in psychology, and by the way, psychology can be very helpful in understanding what is being used against you in gang stalking and all the gaslighting and all the skits and all that, and how to counter that. There is a concept in psychology called ego strength. Now, what is ego strength and how does it relate to gang stalking? So to begin with, ego strength, as a short explanation of what it is essentially how strong your ego is. Now, Freud, a very famous psychoanalyst, came up with the concept that the mind, the psyche, as the Greeks would call it, the psyche, is divided into three parts: the id, the ego, and the superego. Now, the id controls your primal urges, your animalistic, aggressive urges. And this is essentially you reacting violently or in a paranoid fashion to the gang stalking, or to someone intimidating you or threatening you or whatever it is. Think of it as an animal. Okay, think of it as a crocodile that feels threatened and wants to, attack, assault another animal or human being, whatever it might be. That's the id. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, there is the superego, which is the superimposing controller. It is the higher intelligence. It is the what controls everything. It's your values and morality and principles about what is right and wrong in society. It's what keeps us from fighting and doing all kinds of things, killing each other, and have values like about sexuality and violence and all kinds of things, religion, law, and so on and so forth. And it's basically like a stopper. It's like something that, like you have a bottle and you have that stopper on top, and it's just stopping everything from overflowing. So it's all about controlling everything, controlling the urges and so on. And then there is something in the middle called the ego. This is you. This is who you are, your personality, okay? Now, there's many things I can say about this whole thing, and it relates to the mammalian versus reptilian brain and so on and so forth, which has a lot to do with gang stalking, by the way. But I'm not going to go into too much depth. But the ego is who you are as a person. So, someone can be very egotistical in the sense that they have a very large ego. It does not mean that they have an ego strength. A lot of antisocial people, a lot of crazy people, a lot of people who are bullies, who are aggressive, tend to have weak egos, but they have very large egos, okay? So they inflate themselves, okay? They put on this show of toughness, okay? They could be hitting the gym and be like very tough and all that. They can be very aggressive, very loud, very boisterous, very narcissistic, and so on and so forth. And you may perhaps have watched many videos which link narcissism with gang stalking and all that. But that's what a large ego is. But ego strength is about having a strong ego. What does that mean? A strong ego means that you as a person, you yourself, who you are, does not feel threatened by the outside environment. That means if you feel threatened or you feel weak in your ego, then two things might happen. Either you will react by being aggressive, violent, boisterous, egotistical, narcissistic, you shield yourself from that threat from the outside environment by becoming more aggressive, by becoming more violent, by becoming more trying to control everything, trying to be always on top, so on and so forth. The other spectrum of that is that you react always with a defensiveness, a sort of paranoia. You are always on the defensive, on the paranoia. You're always like scared, like a little lizard. It's always running away from some kind of bird or prey or eagle or something that wants to eat it. That's when you have weak ego. So it goes both ways. Either way, these defense mechanisms don't work very well because having a weak ego is not necessarily a good thing. Funny thing is, someone like Donald Trump, it's funny, I kind of like Donald Trump just because I like his character, but he is someone that has probably a relatively weak ego, right? He seems very tough, he seems very out there, outspoken, leader, corporate, so on and so forth. But that's all for show. It doesn't mean that he has a strong ego. Strong ego would be someone who is a little bit more, these are people who are not affected by anything. You can think of like a Zen master, like a Buddhist monk. They're not fazed by anything. You can criticize them, you can insult them, you can say anything. It doesn't affect them in any way. Most people, if you criticize them or you insult them, they feel attacked. They feel like, whoa, you slighted me, man. Like, I'm gonna get back at you, or at the very least, I'm gonna say something to defend myself. They feel defensive, and there's all this back and forth. So having a very strong ego means you're not threatened by any criticism from the outside. And of course, this extends to other kinds of manipulation tactics and insulting tactics or whatever might be that threatens your ego. Of course, there's many threats to the ego. It could be gaslighting. It could be that fucking ridiculous brightening color shit they do. It could be the private conversations for some people that don't like people talking about the private things. It could be someone laughing at you or mocking you. It could be the color coding. It could be, same time entry exit. It could be anything, right? Or it could just be someone being rude to you that you feel slights you and attacks your ego, and so on and so forth. So that's all about the ego strength. So your goal, your best goal in all this, and this is why, it goes back to the whole point of why I created this channel, okay? Forget gangstalking, because the whole point of having a strong ego is to not react to adverse circumstances in your environment that are not beneficial to you. Now, of course, you need to react to things in appropriate ways when something is actually threatening you. Such as if someone is assaulting you or physically doing something to you. I'm not advising people to just sit there and do nothing, obviously. If there's anything legal or infringing upon your personal safety, then you should take adequate measures to protect yourself. But the point of this whole thing is forget gang stalking, because this is all linked to ego strength. Having a strong ego means that you are more likely to ignore people who talk shit about you, people who do all kinds of weird shit to you. You're not going to feel fazed by it. You're not going to feel threatened by it. You're not going to feel, So one thing I like to share with you guys is the following. Of course, in the beginning of the gang stalking, I had a weak ego, right? Because I felt paranoid, I felt unsafe, I was sequestering myself in my accommodation, isolated, and so on and so forth, feeling threatened. That's a weak ego position, right? So how do you go from that to a strong ego position? Well, I did many things. I contacted my friends. I started going out, seeing my friends, okay? Being more proactive socially, talking to my family, spending time with my family. I have a girlfriend. looking for a job, anything that makes you feel connected with society will help you. Anything that makes you go out there will help you feel a stronger ego and feel better about yourself. And when you're occupied with better things and positive things in your life, you are not going to be worried about what these people are doing or not doing, or saying or not saying, brightening, color coding, whatever the fuck. It doesn't matter. As long as it's not affecting you in any way, shape or form. And if you come into the reality of all this, if you're watching all these videos, you realize that they're not really doing anything to you. It's all a psychological battle. It's like high school kids trying to bully you. That's literally all it is. They're not doing anything to you. Okay? All they are doing is they're saying things, they're doing the same entry exit thing, they're doing the skits, whatever. Who cares? Ignore it, move on, deal with it. Another thing with ego strength is sometimes you will, even if you have a relatively strong ego, you will be hurt. You will feel pain. This is a natural phenomenon as part of being a human being. You will feel pain, you will feel slighted, you feel injured by some comment that someone made or some gesture that was made by someone. Relatively normal. But if you have a strong ego, you will be easier for you to bounce back from that. Okay? To bounce back from that. Oh, that's my cat just decided to jump on the sofa. There he is. Sir James of Catford. Anyway, it would be easier for you to bounce back from that hurt and pain, to regain your former ego strength, and to just ignore whatever the painful, thing that was said or done to you. And it's usually people who have a weak ego who tend to have more depressive episodes, more prone to depression, and they tend to ruminate a lot about the negative things and bad things that happen to them in life. And that's why they're kind of stuck in this loop. And that is precisely where the gangstalkers want you to be. They want you to have weak ego strength, to be stuck in a loop where you're just thinking about all the shit they did to you, and probably that they will worrying about, at the same time, having anxiety and worry about the things that they will do to you in the future, and feeling completely helpless and hopeless. So, one of the tips I give to you is this. If you don't want to take my word for it about the whole ignoring gangstalking and overcoming it, maybe it might be difficult for you to just ignore it outright from the beginning. So do what I did. Okay? Look, in this channel, I'm being raw, I'm being legit, I'm being fucking real as fuck. Like, sometimes you guys have to excuse the word I cuss sometimes. I like to cuss, that's just how I am, but I'm being raw, I'm being genuine with you guys. You need to do one thing, and this is what I've done. Go and confront these motherfuckers. They will lie to your face. Okay? Do what Nappy Headroots did, but don't get stuck in that rut. Okay? Don't get stuck in that loop where your entire life is focused on confronting these shit fucking motherfuckers and posting videos about your evidence, because it's not going to achieve anything. That guy's been doing that shit for 5 years. He's got nothing. He did nothing with that. I'm sorry to say that. I mean, I respect that guy, okay? He's got some balls. He can confront these guys, okay? But what you need to do is you confront these guys a couple of times, okay? As many times as you feel needed, even if it's 100. But then it needs to end, okay? You will go and you will confront them. You say, excuse me, but I heard you talking about me and my private things and that. I've done it many times. Sometimes I cussed at them. Sometimes I gave them the finger. Sometimes I told them, you motherfuckers, stop this and that and that. I cussed at them. I told them, go fuck yourself. Stop talking shit about me. Why do you know so many things about me? Why are you talking? These normal reactions that any human being would have. Why are you following me and doing all the street theater shit? Which, of course, they deny. And many times they deny and they say, I'll call the cops on you. See how weak these people are? By the way, I'm the kind of person, because of my heritage, cultural heritage, from where I come from, we don't get involved with the police, okay? We're not some weak punk-ass bitches that as soon as someone confronting me or saying something, I'm gonna call the cops, okay? We don't have that where I come from, okay? We're real motherfuckers. We deal with our own problems. Like someone is confronting me and is saying this and this and that, I'm gonna deal with that motherfucker on my own terms, okay? When he assaults me and he does something to infringe upon my right and my fucking temple, then I will call the cops. But if someone is just coming and talking to me, by the way, this guy, I respectfully spoke to him and said, excuse me, but you are gangstalking me and you are doing this and that to me. I spoke to him in a very respectful tone. I just said, look, whatever you're doing is not worth it. Please do not do it to me, okay? I have a right. I spoke to him. I have a right. Don't do it to me. And he was like, oh, this is disturbing. I don't know what. I'll call the cops on you. Pfft, whatever. I don't care. Call the cops. Some people I cussed at and I confronted very violently. Not like violently, but like I cussed at them and shit like that, giving them finger, which they deserved. I don't care. Told them to fuck off. Because sometimes you gotta straighten shit out. Like get the fuck out of here. If you're being a little punk ass bitch hyena, you're probably raised by a single mother. And you never had your father around to teach you discipline and respect and how to be a fucking man. Because I can expect that kind of behavior from women to behave that way. They gossip around and talk shit about people. That's fine. Women can do that. I have leeway for that. But the point I'm trying to make is you can confront them as many times as you want. Go ahead, do that. Many times I've been very respectful to these people, mind you. Okay, it's not like I'm going around just cussing at people and telling them to fuck off and all that. A lot of these people I have confronted very sincerely, very respectfully. I said, look, excuse me, but you are talking about very private things in my life. Excuse me, but I do not find this behavior to be acceptable. How do you know so many things about me? Does it not make you think perhaps that I might feel like you're infringing on my privacy and therefore that you may perhaps be gang-stalking me? Well, the way I phrase it is you're stalking me, okay? You're spying on me, right? You are a stranger that I met on the street. You're working in a supermarket, for example. How do you know so many things about me? And why are you talking about them and making fun and making gestures and so on and so forth? It's a very realistic thing to raise, which of course they will deny, and that's fine. Do that as many times as you need. Confront them in a civilized way. Try anything you want. Confront them in a civilized way. If you feel like it, tell them to fuck off. You're a human being, you have the right to express yourself as long as you're not breaking the law. Fair enough. I have the right to tell people to fuck off. If someone's pissing me off, I'll tell them to fuck off. Legally, there's nothing on you. They might think you're being belligerent. They might think I don't care. Of course, choose your situation wisely. Read your environment and, of course, what you're doing and how you're doing it. But confront them as many times as you want to. Then, when you're confident in your ability to actually confront these people, and these people will, of course, deny and run away like little bitches and deny that, oh, I haven't done anything, I haven't said anything, sir, I haven't done anything, nothing. They will just treat you like you're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. You're sitting there and doing skits, you're doing street theater, you're doing brightening, you're doing color coding, you're doing street theater, you're doing this, same entry exit, you're gang stalking me, okay? You're talking about private things in my life, how do you know them? I have the right to challenge you. So you're the fucking crazy one. You're the sicko. You're sick in your head if you're doing this to me. And anyway, so challenge them as many times. Then you feel good about yourself in your ability to challenge them. Then every time you see them doing this, you think, should I go there and talk to them? Nah, maybe not. I don't have to. I know that I can go there and I have the power to go there and challenge them and tell them to, leave me alone. But I choose not to because I don't need to. And that's ego strength. That's how you develop ego strength. You have achieved a certain form of ego strength. Now, when you see them laughing at you, or they're doing street theater, or they're doing brightening, or color coding, or same entry exit, or whatever the hell they might be doing, you will just be able to ignore it and smile or wave or do whatever, because you are confident in your ability to protect yourself and not be affected by it, and to challenge them. So you can just ignore it. So anyway, that was my video on ego strength. It was a little bit lengthy, but it just explains to you some of the basic concepts of ego strength and how they relate to gang stalking, and most importantly, how to overcome and defeat gang stalking. Stay strong, everyone.